St John's paramedics say they're absolutely gutted that their employer has backtracked on its promise to pay weekend and overnight shift rates. The ambulance service says it's facing a large deficit for the coming year, with COVID cutting its fundraising and commercial incomes. It's now planning on cutting 100 jobs to save money, and paramedics will miss out on the penal rates they fought for during last year's strikes. Nita Blake-Persen reports.
After 43 years in the job, there's not much this ambulance officer hasn't had to deal with. But the past few months have been particularly tough. He tears up recalling how hard it's been.
You don't know how scary it was, the first part of lockdown with this COVID. Hey, I'm 65 on the road. My first job out to a South African, just come off the plane, 25 hours in and out of airports. What your thoughts be going through now in your head if I told you that? That's come up on your NDT. I'm 65. Is this it? Is this it for me? Is this the last one? And what they do, the thing I'm looking for is the little perk at the end. We're going to get time and a quarter, time and a half.
He doesn't want to be identified out of fear of losing his job, but he's furious to hear that the penal rates, which cover weekend and night shifts that he and his colleagues fought hard for during industrial action last year, are now under threat as St John feels the financial pinch.
Mind the language. It's been the same bull that's been going on for years and years and years. They promise you something, and then just to shut you up so you don't. So the strike's over, and then they take it away from you. It just guts me. And we can always smell a rat. Is this the right company we're working for? They don't know what the books look like. What's going on?
St John, which is 70% government funded, announced yesterday that it would be cutting 100 jobs in a bid to save $30 million over the next financial year. Chief Executive Peter Bradley says the executive team will also be reduced. Personal cars are going, and it's freezing pay increases for those in senior roles.
We won't be filling some vacancies as people leave, and we'll leave some shifts uncovered. But overall, we can reassure the public that those people that require an ambulance in a life-threatening emergency will receive an ambulance as quickly as ever before.
But the crews manning those ambulances say it's a story they've heard many times before. This paramedic says they're already underpaid, and without weekend and overnight rates, which were to be 25% on top of their hourly pay, they're falling further behind other health professionals who are paid extra for their unsociable hours.
I'd be on about $65,000 a year after 20 years' work. My colleagues, quite a number of my colleagues, are on the minimum wage. And those colleagues were with me at the coalface, facing danger, helping out the community, and they're paid the minimum wage, which I think is disgusting.
First Union Ambulance Coordinator Sarah Stone says their members are fed up and at breaking point.
The reason ambulance officers feel so strongly about this clause and the way they're being treated is this is the same story that we hear at bargaining time and time again. This is what we've heard for the last 10 or 15 years. We didn't apply for the funding. We can't afford to pay you. And they're not going to accept it.
In a statement, St John said it had begun paying staff an unsociable hours shift allowance at the end of last year, and the increased penal rates agreed on were contingent on affordability. It says it's well understood that St John's financial situation has significantly worsened since then. Paramedics RNZ has spoken to say if St John can't balance its books, then a new national setup needs to be brought in and be 100% funded. Peter Bradley agrees the current funding model doesn't work.
We rely on fundraising to run the ambulance service. We don't think that's right. It will change, but it's not going to change tomorrow. It will change hopefully next year. So we really appreciate the support from the public, but this next year is a big challenge.
But those on the front line say they've waited long enough to be paid what they're worth.
Given that we gave so much during COVID, we put ourselves out there, we exposed ourselves to danger and our families to danger, it would be nice to be recognised for what we did as opposed to being punished in some way by having our shift rates taken off us.
Mo te hōtaka o te ahi nei, ko Nita Blake-Persen aho.